The Lighthouse for the Blind in San Francisco is building one of the most technologically advanced headquarters right now in downtown San Francisco. And as part of that, we are moving like head first into the technology, world of technology. We're right downtown next to the Twitter headquarters. And we are just like working with some of the most incredible people in the Bay Area. And so we wanted to take this opportunity to bring some of those folks out. We have people approach us all the time wanting to find out. Now they're realizing we had an app called Blue Light, which is an emergency services app. And these guys came to us to talk about accessibility, not because they knew any blind people, but because they realized that blind people were starting to use their product. And there are millions and millions of blind people who have their hands on iPhones now. And this is just, the iPhone has been an absolute, like, amazing turn of, like, it's a whole evolution for the disability community. And it's not just the iPhone, it's all this new technology in general. And so people are realizing that there's this huge market. I mean, millions and millions, potentially in America, anywhere from like 5 to 10 million people, blind people who could have iPhones. And that's just visually impaired people. It's not even this whole other, there's this whole other population that uses assistive technology now. And people are starting to realize that they're going to have way more loyal customers who keep coming back to use their service if they make sure that it works for screen readers, for assistive technology, for assistive hearing, for all these things that are built into, you know, so neatly into the Apple interface. So I want to talk really quickly about the idea of the curb cut. This is something that academics like to talk about, and I know because I've written about it, and I know that RuPaul has heard about it in her has written about it in her dissertation. You might not even know what a curb cut is because they're so ubiquitous now that you might not even know the name of it. It's that thing on the corner that goes down, the ramp that goes down into the street. And those, believe it or not, when they were advocating for those things to be installed, people were pissed off. Like, it was total inconvenience. It was an extra cost. It drove people crazy, and no one thought that it made any sense. And you know, why could people, you know, do all this stuff just for a few people in wheelchairs? Well, the curb cut ended up being one of the more important pieces of city infrastructure, and now it not only helps people who are in wheelchairs, but people who are blind, people with other mobility problems, people with strollers, people with rolling suitcases. I mean, it ends up serving all these different people that weren't the original intention for the design. And so if we apply that to the design that, you know, the technology and the entertainment and the things we're working on now, it's a really powerful metaphor. I think just to kind of kick it off, I wanted to bring in our first, oh, it's on my lap. Where's it? I wanted to bring in, show a little bit from our first presenters who I'll introduce, but they're not actually here today. Unfortunately, they wanted very, very badly to be here, but they've got a lot of movies to work on. They're from Pixar Animation Studios. Is this the correct slide here? Yeah. So they're from. I want to show you guys a video from Paul Saihockey and Jonas Rivera, who are producers at Pixar Animation Studios in Emeryville, California. And you might know Jonas because he just won the Oscar for Inside Out last week. They have been working to develop what I think might be one of the most, one of the best examples of a modern curb cut. And it's really just about, like we're talking about, bringing these adaptations into the mainstream as opposed to creating new roads for people to go down that are less efficient and segregate and don't include. So I'm gonna play this video from Jonas and Paul, and they're gonna tell you a little bit about the origin story of a brand new audio description technology for the blind that is now being built directly into the Disney Movies Anywhere mainstream app, so that any blind person can now pull out a new movie, press one button, and immediately have audio description in their headphones for any Disney or Pixar movie that comes out from now on. And this is a big deal because, just for some background, right now, the only place audio description, which is like a narrative track for blind people who can't see the screen, the only place this is available is in movie theaters, and movie theaters totally fail to deliver it. So it's a dehumanizing experience, and Disney, Pixar set out to fix that just recently, and they've had a smashing success at it, and they're going to tell you a little bit about why that happened.
Hi everybody, we are talking to you from Pixar Animation Studios. My name is Jonas Rivera, I'm a producer here.
And I'm Paul Sihaki, post-production here at Pixar. We're super excited to be part of this panel. We're sorry that we couldn't be there, but we're thrilled with the people that are here with us.
Yeah, it's a great group of folks, champions of accessibility. We're proud to be among them and proud to be part of this, even if it's on camera. It means a lot to us.
So we at Pixar are all about quality. And honestly, it was when you and I worked together back on Up that we sort of really started to focus on the audio description track that is released theatrically with films, and sort of learned things about it, and the fact that it wasn't on DVD back in the day, that sort of got us talking and wanting to do things differently.
I actually learned things learned about it. I didn't even know. Up was the first film I produced, and Paul was the post-supervisor on that film, and it was something I learned about in the early days of that picture because, well, to just zoom back out, my daughter, I became a father on that film, and my daughter Elsa was born, and she was born with ocular albinism and nystagmus. And my wife and I sort of shocked into this world of a potential visual problem with our daughter, sent us on this long emotional journey where we interface with many people here that we adore, and we were starting kind of getting used to the fact that we may have a daughter that has low vision or no vision. She's now 10 and has vision, but still it is impaired. And this set me off on this little bit of a personal bend. We were right after the news, in fact, in this room, right after we got that news, and we didn't know if, how severe our case was. We were sitting in this room at a screening of one of our films, and I sat in these seats, and everybody I work with, the directors, the art directors, the animators, everybody, when the screening was over and the lights came up, we always sit as we do and talk about what we saw. And everybody, I'd never heard this before through this lens of my life, was, did you see this? Did you notice that? Did you see the colors in this? Did you? And that's kind of when I had my breakdown a little bit, because I thought, oh my gosh, I may have a daughter that doesn't see what I do, what I contribute to here. Yeah. And there was something really visceral, as probably many of you know, about that moment. When I heard about the audio description process and when Paul Sihaki came, we dug in with great rigor on that. And to your point earlier, we're all about quality. Everything here is about story. So we had this thought like, well, if that's part of our storytelling, we should wrap our arms around that and own it and make it as good as it can be, right?
Right. I mean, that narration track's important.
It is.
How can we better that?
So we committed to that, and we're proud of that. And it was just something personal, but also made sense in the world when we started doing focus groups. Because Paul got the great idea to bring people up where we do our post-production at Skywalker Ranch, and we brought members of the blind community, low vision community from a lot of great groups around here. And we just filled the room with people that could then watch the films with the dialogue and give us notes on the way it was written. Was it too preachy? Was it too over-descriptive? Is this what people that have no vision want to hear? How do they want to hear it? And we got to aggregate a lot of those notes sonically. How should it be mixed? Is there anything different? We just tried to, do anything and everything
push
we could.
That further to make it as good as it can be. And right. Like you said, it was everything from the narrator's voice and the way that they were performing it to the actual dialogue that we were squeezing in between all the feature dialogue.
But there was one kid, you can picture her face. She was like a 14-year-old kid, and I think she was completely blind. I don't think she had any vision. And we were screening Wall-E, our film, to observe how that audience would react so that we could then inform what we would do on Up. And I'll never forget. She said, "Oh, Wally," she said when we told her. She said, "I've seen this movie twice. I love this movie." And I just I fell in love with her. Like, oh my gosh, like our job. This isn't just some exercise. It's something we have to make great because these people see these movies. Make no mistake. So I brought that back. We brought that back to the executives and John Lasseter and Ed Catmull here, and so we want to champion this and do it right. And hopefully, we've made progress there because we really do pay attention to it. It's important to us. And that journey, starting on up, at least for me, has led us through a lot of experiments and ways, and I think it's culminated in this partnership with DMA, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yep. So
Disney Movies Anywhere. These are the folks that really have taken it to the next step.
Right. So what we're really here to talk to you a little bit about is a new feature on DMA, Disney Movies Anywhere, partnering with the team at Disney. They've created an app that will sync the narration track in your phone, your iOS device, to the feature that's playing either in a movie theater or on your home television, whether it be a DVD, a Blu-ray, Netflix, Amazon, or off of the DMA app itself.
And the point of it, we hope, is that it's freeing and that allows everybody in the world, no matter what level of vision you have, to experience the films the way anyone with vision would. That's the hope, and that you can do that anywhere, as the app said, right?
Exactly.
Do it here if we want
in a
to.
funny way, right? It's sort of accessibility anywhere is sort of our tag name for our feature.
So we're very proud that we're at least some small part of that, and we hope that it makes an impact. And we really wish we were there and not at Pixar, but we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of movies going on, and we really want to thank you for this opportunity to speak about it. And we hope we continue to have opportunities to work on this.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Ed Gray. I work at AVID. So AVID makes tools for media production, which means that we make tools to create and manage the audio and video assets that make up music, movies, broadcast content. And so one of the products that we make is Pro Tools. And Pro Tools is a digital audio production product. I'm going to show it to you in a second, and I'm proud to let you know we won an American Foundation for the Blind Access Award for Pro Tools. Why? Because blind people can use it to make music and audio, and so it's a very exciting time. We're incredibly proud of it, and I'm here to talk a little bit about how this happened and how we thought about taking a product that was not designed for blind users and driving accessibility into it and kind of maintaining that emphasis on accessibility. So I want to show a video only so you know what Pro Tools is and how it works.
Hi, my name is Slough Hallaton, and I'm an audio engineer and studio owner in New York City. And I've been using Pro Tools for many years, and I happen to be blind. And the way I use Pro Tools and the way I access it is through the built-in screen reader in Mac OS X known as VoiceOver. And I'm just going to give you sort of the 50-cent tour, if you will, navigating Pro Tools using VoiceOver so that you can see how I experience, how a blind user experiences Pro Tools through VoiceOver. Okay, I have an orchestral session that I recorded and edited and I'm mixing. First thing, by the way, a sighted user, of course, would be able to look at the Pro Tools screen and see that either the mix window or the edit window is open. But the first thing I would do is query what window is foremost.
Window chooser menu. Unassigned.
If I press that same key twice.
Window chooser menu. Mix. Cobs are mixed to 4SXSL. Edit. Cobs are mixed to 4SXSW. Counter display cluster.
Okay, so VoiceOver is providing feedback about what window is, which window is open. When I use built-in Pro Tools shortcuts to toggle windows, like Command equals.
Mix checked. Mix.
It's telling me what's happening, that the mix window is now open. I'm just going to navigate using Control Option left right arrow.
Close button. Tracks. Track list pop-up button. M221L, audio, M221C, audio, M221R, audio track.
So each one of these tracks has more controls within it. And if I want to get to those controls, I would interact with that element, that user element.
Interact with M221R audio track. 21 items. Insert C.
Okay, so VoiceOver is providing a lot of feedback in terms of how many elements there are within this channel strip. Let's instantiate a plugin.
Unassigned. Insert assignment A button.
Okay, let's...
Menu checkmark. No insert. DSP plugin. Submenu. DSP. EQ. EQ. Submit. EQ free 7 band.
Yeah.
Mono.
Okay, 7-band EQ.
EQ free 7 band. Insert assignment A button. Plugin. EQ free 7 band. Window. Track.
Okay, so now VoiceOver told me that the plugin window is open, and here we have
M221R track selector pop-up button.
the track selector is set to the M221R.
EQ free 7 band. Plugin selector package. AAXDSP pop-up button.
So there's a lot of information being conveyed here. Usually a blind user would navigate much more quickly through a window like this, not necessarily stopping to hear every bit of information. But here, let's get into this plugin view itself. Okay, I'm going to interact with this area here where all the parameters are.
Interact with FXTD Animated View plugin. 36 items. 0.0 dB. Input level parameter.
Okay, so again, there's a lot of information here. There are 36 items, 36 parameters that I know that I can interact with. The first one that it's focused on is the input level, all right?
0.0 dB, output level parameter.
The output level, so both are at 0 dB. If I wanted to change that value, I'd interact with this parameter.
Interact with parameter. Minus 0.1 dB. Minus 0.2 dB.
All right, and a lot of this is going to be gibberish to non-engineers, but all of these parameters, the point is that I can affect them. I can apply whatever type of processing to an individual track that I would like to. I just wanted to give you a taste of what a blind user experiences with Pro Tools and VoiceOver. And, you know, the folks at AVID have been just absolutely amazing. Ed Gray and the team have done so much for accessibility, and that means so much to blind users. It's a game changer.
So that guy is Slough Hallaton, and the point I want to make is that he is in Astoria, Queens, in a professional studio using Pro Tools to make a living. So this is not just a blind user doing a few tracks and using it in a rudimentary way. Pro Tools is accessible, so you can do editing and mixing and distribution and managing your assets all in Pro Tools. And so the most the point that I want to radiate, I guess, is that you can add accessibility to products, but it is not good enough to have some guy in your company lose his eyesight and be annoying about it, and say we've got to do this. You're not going to make and sustain accessibility features in your products with some spasm of interest in accessibility. It needs a home on your roadmap, and needs to be managed just like other features of a product. And so with Pro Tools, most of our accessibility that we show is on the Mac using VoiceOver, which is the text-to-speech that's built into every Mac OS, and most of the task had to do with deepening the VoiceOver support in Pro Tools, so you could see when a fader was sliding or changing a value and building in that depth. And so so it requires, again, more than just a temporary statement of interest. You have to kind of double down and commit as a company to make accessibility a first-class citizen in your product so that it's tested and validated from release to release. And then you also have to employ beta testers, people outside, blind users. So that guy Slough, he's a Ukrainian guy. You have to employ these testers just because there's so many features that you want to speak and be visible to a blind user. You need to focus and go at the feature sets that are most important. And there is no substitute for a bunch of real-world beta testers to do that. And then the other thing that rings true with me, because I'm the head of third-party programs at AVID, is that you need to make sure that the other products that work alongside Pro Tools, of which there are a great many, that you kind of you push to build accessibility into those products also. So when you're using Pro Tools, you manage the licenses for the assets and plugins and things that you own, and you also you actually log onto an AVID site. And you make a connection as you're using Pro Tools, and if those things don't speak and they're not visible through VoiceOver, then you've got kind of a great-looking house, and then you've got a crappy mailbox in front of the house, or a driveway with potholes leading up to it. So the idea is you maintain the core product, and you make this sustainable commitment to biting off accessibility features, and you make sure that the third-party community, that the ecosystem around it is also accessible to the greatest extent that you can do it. So,
Ed, can I ask you? And can I just want to point out that Ed has been at Pro Tools or an AVID a long time, and it's sort of in some ways, it's a coincidence that you're also blind, right? I mean, it's not like you came to AVID to fix accessibility. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks. And that's So Pro Tools wasn't built for accessibility from the ground up. About 6 or 7 years ago, we experimented with VoiceOver and did a decent job of making sure the menus and some of the basic features can speak to you. And by the way, I'm speaking mostly of the Mac OS and VoiceOver, which is built into the system and ships with every Mac and is upgraded with more features with every Mac OS. And then on the Windows, you can use screen readers and other things. So we definitely, it's our wish to have parity across both of those platforms. But so it's exactly like I said. I think we made a stab at it, and then we kind of took our foot off the gas. So Pro Tools version 9, which is about 6 years ago, it worked great, and the blind guys were psyched, and good job. And then with Pro Tools 10 and 11, really through no fault of our own, but through changes in Pro Tools, it broke some of the features, and we didn't get out in front of it and prioritize it enough. So it kind of fell off the wagon, and we lost all the momentum and goodwill we had built. And then Pro Tools 11.1 was a big advance, and then a recent release was another big advance.
Which is something to consider with nowadays with software that updates, weekly or even daily. You can have things that are breaking accessibility left and right. We're going to shift gears a little bit here and talk with Christian Erfurt, who's the CEO of Be My Eyes, which is an app that was founded in Denmark and now is based in San Francisco and partially in Denmark. And Be My Eyes is an incredible product, and Christian's going to tell you a little bit about it. And what the fun part is, the really fun part is, come outside afterwards and you can put on one of our LightHouse sleep masks and actually use it. Or have somebody show you how it works, because it's a pretty incredible product. So give it up for Christian Erfurt, everyone.
Thank you, Will. And thank you for inviting us and hosting this great event. I think it's an important topic, and I'm so glad to see all of you guys here. So Be My Eyes is a video platform that enables blind and visually impaired to see through the eyes of volunteers. So we have made a peer-to-peer video connection, so a blind or visually impaired can ask for video assistance, and the connection is established, and you can be their eyes in a situation of need. It's we match on that was explained in the video. We match on time zones and language, so you can ask for assistance without deciding who to call and who to bother with your request. We match on time zone and language, and we have these matches made daily on a global scale. Be My Eyes was founded a year ago, and I'm glad and proud that I have my co-founder Hans, an inventor, sitting in the audience. So grab him afterwards. He'll be happy to answer any questions you have. We founded the company, launched the product a year ago, and now we have 26,000 blind and visually impaired users and more than 346,000 volunteers. And this it was mind-blowing that to see, we knew that there was an interest from the blind and visually impaired community, but to see that the level of commitment from the volunteers was just overwhelming for us. And people are so eager to help, and so willing to help in every case. The guy down in the corner on the picture is holding a milk carton and checking the expiry date, and that was sort of the everyday scenario that we imagined the product being used for in the beginning, being that distinguishing products or checking expiration dates, maybe some navigation, but it was sort of that standard issue we imagined would be the use case. Oh, I have the slider. But we are so proud to see that the product is used for so much more. The first image on the left is a woman who saw her son's first basketball game through the eyes of a volunteer. So all of a sudden there was a volunteer who narrated the whole game and sort of just acted like a sports commentator throughout the whole game. Secondly, a woman who's now able to cook and prepare a dinner for her husband coming home, and she's able to navigate the kitchen and stove and everything. And thirdly, there's students who now can, blind visually impaired students, who can now use their handout for something actual in between classes and have them read and prepare for the next class. And we're very proud that we have a partnership with LightHouse that is just tremendous in the way that we do our user-driven product development. So we thought it was going to be these small everyday cases, but we just, it's so beautiful to see the use cases that Be My Eyes is used for. And if you look at the other end of the spectrum, you see these highly engaged volunteers that we have. This is a tweet that came out in January, and I'll read it out. Just got my first Be My Eyes request. A man from Iraq needed help identifying his health and birth document. I feel so fulfilled I could cry. I mean, these stories come in on a daily basis, and they really touch the core of a soul of our team and the whole community, being that sometimes we almost forget who we are helping the most in this scenario.
Hey, Christian, I heard that your video is working. Would you like us to play it?
No, never mind. It's a product demo, and no. If you, I'll be happy to. I'll show it in the lab, yeah. Great. But thanks. And I think the beauty of this, talking about mainstreaming accessibility, is that this is people helping people just like we're supposed to. They do it out of compassion and empathy, and it's a global phenomenon. You don't get to ask who you want to help you. And I think the beauty of it is that we do it across religion and countries and borders, and this is minimizing that gap between us and them on a daily basis. And I'm really, really proud that each session includes and bring these two worlds together. All right, so let me so at a glance, we're in 140 plus countries and 80 different languages. We had a tremendous amount of press when we launched the product. It was overwhelming, and we were working out of the Dome in Copenhagen, and now we're the largest global community of blind and visually impaired. Be My Eyes is making the world more accessible for the 300 million blind using this 21st century technology that we have. And there's a lot of other use cases for this that I'll be happy to elaborate in the lab. This vertical of blind visually impaired is definitely not the only one in need of a pair of friendly eyes, and some of the examples are on there. So yeah, thank you so much for having us.
I think if you want, you can talk a little bit about some of these other use cases that have surprised you, because what it signifies is the potential for this to actually not just be for the blindness community, right?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. We had. I was surprised to have a reach out from a Canadian user who was using Be My Eyes. He was sighted, but he was struggling with so severe illiteracy that Be My Eyes was a tool for him to get by in his daily job. And he contacted me asking whether it was okay if he used Be My Eyes. And I said,
this guy was pretending to be blind
to
use Be My Eyes because he was illiterate.
Yeah, and it was just, we were so proud when he reached out and said, of course, and this is just demonstrating that the need for this micro-volume community is so much bigger than just a blind vertical.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rupal Patel came out from the East Coast to talk to you.
Thank you. Actually, Will asked me to tell a story about how VocalID started. So I was Denmark, 2002 in Odense. I was at a conference for people who use assistive technologies to speak. So they use a device to talk, much like Stephen Hawking. I'd just given a talk showing that I'm a researcher, and I was working at that time with kids with cerebral palsy, and I thought, you know, much of my work was showing that even when people can't speak, they still have a voice. They're still able to do something with their voice. And I just given this talk, and then I walk into the exhibit hall, where there's a bunch of different new assistive technologies being shown. And I see a little girl and a grown man having a conversation. And it's the exact same adult male voice. And then I turn around and I look around me and I hear that male voice literally everywhere. It's the Stephen Hawking kind of voice, right? And that was the moment for me where I realized we could do something about this. We should be doing something about this. Every single person in that room who had an assistive technology was using very similar voices back then. This was 2002. That was that first observation. From that observation, it was a few years later that we actually began to work on the technology underlying what we're building at VocalID. Because you need some time to get some funding. And so when we first got the funding, we started figuring out a way that we could make a unique voice for every single individual by taking a tiny bit of their voice sample and then blending it with somebody who could speak, maybe about 6 to 8 hours of speech, so that we could combine the speaking person's voice with the person who's only able to give us a little bit of their vocalization, the non-speaking individual. That's kind of hard to do. Making a synthetic voice requires somebody to sit in a studio for many, many hours at a time, and then a team of engineers to go over all the recordings, and then voila, you get a voice, but it's mega expensive, and it takes a long time to make. So Siri, for example, is hundreds of hours of recording and millions of hours to build. You can make a crappy sounding voice like the one you hear when you go to the parking garage and pay for your parking ticket. Please insert your ticket, right? You can make those kinds of voices, but even those voices cost tens of thousands of dollars. So what we were working on for years was a solution to figure out just how to combine a voice. We didn't have any plans of commercialization. And then I had this really interesting opportunity to talk about the work that we were doing on the TED stage. And when I talked about it at TED, I still explained the technology, but at the very end of the talk I said, what if you could donate your voice? What if you could give your voice to someone in need? And really, honestly, before I gave the talk, I had set up a website, and I thought maybe a couple hundred people would do this. This would be the largest N study of my life, because most of my studies are like 20 people. And much to our surprise, much like you, Christian, we had so many people volunteer to say, I want to give my voice. And we're talking about 6 to 8 hours of continuous sort of recording your voice, not in one day, but over time. And so this was really exciting. And we had no way of collecting their voice, because in the first month we had 2,000 people volunteer. By the third month, 3,000 people. And lots and lots of people wanting to contribute their voice from all corners of the world. And today, this is where all the various different donors, we've got 11,000 plus active donors, 25,000 donors, voice donors from around the world. They really are from across the world, different places across the world, mostly English speaking. This is the reach of TED. Much like Christian, we haven't had the budget or really the need to go through normal marketing channels to try to gain this. But you see kids from the age 6 all the way to adults in their late 80s and 90s on our voice donation platform, which is, I think, really exciting that it is building community. And that's the only way to make a voice that's scalable, because otherwise it's just far too costly. So then I want to tell you, a lot of this is happening within the last couple of years. And then, we still, I think, by the time we made the voice banking platform and got people to start recording their voice, didn't really know whether this was really, it was possible to scale at large. There's 10 million people around the world who can't speak. And right now, they're using a handful of voices, all of them sounding identical. And many of the reasons that you don't see them is because they're very isolated, because the voice is nothing like an extension of you and I, right? It's not their personality. We wouldn't fit a little girl with the prosthetic limb of a grown man. Why are we giving her the same prosthetic voice, right? So I got this email 2 years ago that kind of changed my life, or that changed my path. It's from a little girl named Erin. I'll read it to you. My name is Erin Flack. I'm 9 years old. I live in Needham, Massachusetts. My little sister Maeve, 8, has cerebral palsy and uses an echo speaking device we call her Talker. I saw your video and I thought, I would love to give my voice to someone who can't talk just like Maeve. Me, my mom, and my sister, Megan, 11, realized that Megan's voice she has programmed in her talker sounds nothing like the voice of an 8-year-old and probably should get a new voice. But there's no voices programmed on the talker that sound like one. We would love to get a new voice for Maeve, and I would love to be part of it. Thank you, Erin. So this is March. I'm a professor, and so I'm getting this email. I'm almost getting hives, thinking, how in the world am I going to make this happen? Because it takes months for us to build a voice at a time. And then this sort of sits into my head for a little while. And in May of 2014, I decide to jump in and say, I'm going to own this. We have this technology. We have this ability. We're going to start commercializing this. And so we get a grant from the National Science Foundation and another from the National Institute of Health, and we take it on. And as January 2015, I jump in as CEO, and now, a year later, we are making it happen. And in December of 2015, we gave a voice to this young girl, Maeve. And if we can play the video, I'll tell the story, and she'll tell the story.
Best day ever! Hi, Dr. Patel. My name is Erin Flack. I am 9 years old, and I live in Needham, Massachusetts. My little sister Maeve, who is 8, has cerebral palsy and uses an echo speaking device. We call her Talker.
My name is Maeve. I am 8 years old.
Me, my mom, and my other sister Megan realized that Maeve's voice she has programmed in her Talker sounds nothing like the voice of an 8-year-old, but there are no voices programmed on the Talker that sound like one. We would love to get a new voice for Maeve, and I would love to be part of it. Thank you, Erin. I call shotgun!
So today we're driving to VocalID's headquarters. Erin is going to be using her voice to say a bunch of vocabulary words. Maeve will be providing sounds. A software program from VocalID is going to combine those words and create Maeve's unique voice.
I'm excited to meet Dr. Patel. It will be cool to hear a new voice for my device that sounds like me.
We're finally here! I'm going to go in, I think, like a sound booth studio and just say like a bunch of words and sentences that don't really make sense, and then use the sound that Maeve made. They're gonna mix it together to make a voice that sounds like hers. I think it's gonna sound like a lot more like a little kid.
Hi, how are you? My name is Rupal Patel. I am the founder of VocalID. VocalID is a company that builds personalized voices for people who use computerized voices to communicate. The voice is such an integral part of who you are. Having an individualized voice is something very important for someone who's going to use this voice as a way for others to get to know them. Today, we are going to get Erin to do some recording, and then we're also going to get you to make some sounds. And those recordings, then, we can use to make a voice for you. So what we're going to do is record you saying lots of different words, and then we're going to take that speech and chop it up into little bits so that she can say not only the words you recorded, but other words that you never recorded. That's the magic.
Wow. How are you? Good morning.
Say, 1, 2, 3. That was awesome. Okay, take a break, okay? Today is the big day. We've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Maeve, in fact, is our first trailblazer who's going to get her voice this year.
We've been anticipating this for like almost a full year.
This is such a cool experience, not just see it, but be part of it.
I'm really excited because I think I'll really get to hear from a voice that sounds like Maeve. I think she's really excited for it, and I think she's gonna love it.
Okay, Maeve.
Hello, this is my new voice.
What do you think about her new voice?
And what she's gonna do with it.
I feel excited. I want to say hi to Taylor Swift with my new voice.
These are just four products, you know? What could be the next product to the next mainstream product that just works for everybody? That's what we want to leave you with. And thank you so much for
Thank you for having
joining us and for letting us go over a bit. Thanks. Everyone.